Talk about the good times with Talking Elvis.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 16. We're still here. I'm Vince Wright, and who's with me?
I'm Ian Gray, and we are now Sweet 16.
Sweet 16. Who were Mrs. Oh, yes. And didn't we have that lovely lady introduce us again there?
Talk about the good times with Talking Elvis.
I found out, I did the research, and
Okay.
I found out her name is Grace Land, right? Right.
Ah, brilliant.
So
Yes,
she will
excellent.
be introducing our show continuously. So good old Grace.
She is
Grace,
our Miss Moneypenny.
yes, splendid. So Grace, thank you
Good.
very much for that again.
Indeed.
Well, news. I was writing this down and thinking there wasn't much news, and then wallop.
Yes, indeed. Poor old little Richard R.I.P.
Richard Wayne Penniman.
Yeah. And Elvis said he was the greatest.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love this idea of I like titles, the architect of rock and roll. But little Richard said Elvis opened the door for them. What, Long Tall Sally, Rip It Up,
Ready, Teddy.
Ready Teddy.
Yeah.
He even did
Tutti Frutti, the whole thing.
I Can Help. Did a nice early version of that. So it was one of the legends, wasn't it? And I always say I never got to see all the legends, and I did get to see Little Richard in the 80s.
Did you? Did you really? Wow.
It was Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and it was supposed to be Fats Domino, and he was ill.
Oh.
So we only had it. And I tell you, Chuck Berry had lost it a bit. It was a shame, but it was ticking a box. Little Richard was, he was a fat bloke, but he had it. He had
all the glitz and the glamour, yeah?
He was there, and being the 80s, you still thought Prince, you've got a copycat, aren't you? You're a copycat.
Yes, it was. Prince was a dead ringer, wasn't he? Yes.
Yeah. So I think, he was one that I did get to see, so...
Wow, look at you, that's great.
Way back when, that was... I tell you what, what was his name? It used to come to the Wolverhampton discos. Richard... Harvey.
That's him, yep.
He was there as well, and he was a photographer, and he took the most gorgeous black and white photos of that night. And I've got to dig them out. I've got some great 10x8s that he did that night.
Oh man, you got to get them. You got to get them when you're sorting out next.
Yeah, I'd forgotten all about that bit. That bit wasn't in my notes. So what a star! I mean, I think with the career, you're going to look on any Google page and Rolling Stone magazine and everything. But the Elvis connections are the ones that we're probably going to push most here. The film The Girl Can't Help It.
Yeah.
Which was the only real competition for a rock and roll movie of the same sort of budget as the Elvis ones, because they were all cheap flicks apart from that. And Elvis, that was the story of his Elvis going to be in it, and obviously it was Eddie Cochran was in that scene instead. But it's all Little Richard, isn't it? The Girl Can't Help It is the song and all that.
Yeah, all over it. It's flamboyant wasn't the word for Little Richard. It was something more than that, wasn't it? It was an attitude, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that's what it was. It was an attitude that said, "I'm going to do it this way. It's not the conventional way to do it, but I'm going to do it this way, and like it or lump it, And
the fight he must have put up to be there. There's the race card. There's the how camp is that guy for your average jock in America at the time, who your Biff Tannens are all over him. It's great.
It's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, I read one of the obituaries this morning. I read, and so I was going through this, and I said, "Yes, I've heard that. I know all about that. But then I came to 1984. He checked into a hotel on Sunset Boulevard in California and stayed there for 22 years. And I thought, what?
Really?
But that was the fact that I hadn't heard.
Yeah, I love that idea.
I thought, wow, that's just tremendous. It's just there. And it's like, crikey, and he was still doing it. Well, up to about 4 or 5 years ago, wasn't he? He still had a bit to do, and a big, probably one of the biggest, well, if not one of the biggest names in music history. Let's face it.
So shall we raise our glass?
Absolutely. Here we are for Little Richard.
For Little Richard. Oh, excellent stuff there. What else have we got in the news? Anything new from you?
Nothing from me. No,
right.
I've just been locked down and working in my office. So that's a very sad existence I've been.
Other news I've got here, then seen some talk of the Blu-rays of King Creole, the 4K transfer, so that's looking good.
When is that? I want that. I can't find it anywhere.
It's region 1 only, isn't it, or whatever at the minute? So you'll have to get one of those. And the Kid Galahad FTDs, they seem to be surfacing pictures. I don't know. I've not heard a review of it yet, but
I've heard that it's out and somebody I know has got it, but whether that's because they're in the trade or I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I ordered it from Man and His Music, and I haven't had it as yet. So I don't know whether they're.
Well, if the traders have got it, you'll have it soon, I guess.
I'll have to. Yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to talk about that in the coming weeks. What else? What else we got in the news? Nothing much else in the news. I did have some nice correspondence from Brian, one of the listeners, this week, who knows our views on things, and particularly my views on things, and said, very much tongue-in-cheek, said, when are you going to do the top 5 ETAs? Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Watch this space. That might be a solo show from me.
Yeah, I'm going to say, in my opinion, I can do the bottom 5, but I can't. There is no top 5 for me. But he came up with some other nice ideas for top 5s. One we've already got in the bag, and a couple of others. I'm actually going to rob off you there, Brian. So cheers for that. Yeah, we'll have that.
If anybody can give us material, it'll save us writing it ourselves.
That's before the final interview. I think what I've got to do is bring up Mr. Edgate.
Oh, God. Let it go.
A week on, and you know, the masses are there. The legal action, it's all coming. I'm trying to keep it away from you, but at the minute, you know, I'm holding back the tide. Right?
Bring it on.
Nice one, you had me. Right, so what have we got this week? An interview we recorded a week or two back. Tell the lovely listeners all about this.
This is a chat with a lovely lady who's a friend of ours down under in Sydney, Australia, called Jacqueline Feilich. And, well, have a listen for yourself. Right then, we got a bit of a change of track for you here on Talking Elvis. If you followed me over the years, you'll have got on the Elvis in Cambridge radio show various guests of different guises, of different talents, of different everything really. And we found this very nice young lady in Australia. This is Jacqueline Feilich. Hello, Jacqueline.
Hello, Ian. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Yeah, thanks again for Jacqueline for joining us. It's been a while, hasn't it? I can't remember the last time we talked.
Yeah, it's been a few years actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So how you've been doing? How are things down under? You okay?
Oh yeah, all good. I mean, we really can't complain. I mean, things are a bit weird, I guess, a bit hard to get used to, but you've got to make the best of everything. And if anybody is talking about Elvis, then things are good.
It's good, and it was certainly glad to see you. Good to see you back on Facebook the other night, performing a few Elvis songs.
Yeah, it's got to do it. Got to do it.
Yeah, loving the dark hair again. Big fan.
How many people are saying that? I wasn't going to do that, but I think brunettes have more fun.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, Jacqueline. Before we go on to your talent and your singing and the latest song that you've recorded, which is very good, by the way. Before we go on to that, what we do, we have a couple of questions. We have 6 questions actually, where we ask everybody, and it's nothing to be afraid of. You don't need to go and look at your encyclopedias or anything like that. This is just all about being an Elvis fan, and the best thing about these questions is that the answers will change for you. Some of the answers will change for you almost every day. So this is the beauty of it. So I'm going to go first, and then we'll swap around, and young Vince over there can carry on. Okay, then first question: Have you ever been to Graceland?
Yes, I have. I've been. I started going in 2006, and I probably went for the last time about, say, 3 years ago. And all up, I'd say I'd get a little bit of change out of 10 times. I've been 10 times. I'm obsessed with it, of course.
Fantastic! It's a lovely place, and it's the city itself is quite good. I know we got hard areas in Memphis as well, but there's other places like that across the world anyway. But I like Memphis as a whole. I don't know about you.
It's got a great feeling. There's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's very hard to explain unless you go there.
Yeah,
but you can understand why Elvis wanted to live there.
Oh, indeed, yeah.
Oh, it's the heart of music, isn't it? I mean, it's whether you want gospel, blues, bluegrass, whatever it is, it's there, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The banks of the Mississippi.
Yeah, exactly. There's something in the air, because to have produced that many amazing singers, and 90% of them came through Sun Studios. There's got to be something special about it. So, yeah, you can feel that.
I should be going in June, so I'm all paid up and ready. So that's not going to happen, is it?
Oh man! Oh, that would be a miracle. But I wish it did for you. I really do.
Oh dear. It's fingers crossed. We'll see. Well, but maybe next year.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask the second question?
Yeah.
Here we go. So, how did you hear the news that Elvis had died?
That's an excellent question. Well, I was 7 in 1977, and
same as me.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh dear, I'm feeling terribly old here.
And I just thought, I walked. First of all, I heard it on the radio in the morning, but I didn't believe it. I thought I must have heard it wrong. Then I walked into primary school, and my best friend came running up to me, and she was frantic and said, "Have you heard Elvis died?" And I said, "You're lying. You are lying to me. And why would anyone ever do that?" And then later on, as the day unfolded, I discovered that was true. And then I had to get picked up because I was a wreck. And for 3 days, I just locked myself in my bedroom. And at 7 years old, like, I even think about that now and think, how is that possible? But I was really, really obsessed with him even then.
Great.
Well, that's quite something to say. You were locked in your room for 3 days having a tantrum almost because Elvis had died at 7 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a fan, that is, isn't it? That's a fan. That's in the blood, isn't it? Was it from your family? Were your parents into him? Or did you just discover him on your own?
Well, no, I have to give credit to my dad, because he listened to crooners like Nat King Cole and Dean Martin and Roger Whittaker, but he had an 8-track, and we're talking about in 73. Now, this is my earliest recollection. 73, I would have been 3 years old. I was my dad's girl. He had a big American car with speakers and all that, and he used to have these 8-tracks in his car. And I just remember being obsessed with the sound of Elvis's voice. I didn't know what he looked like, but every time I've just wanted to hear that one particular 8-track, which I think must have been Aloha, if it was 73.
Oh, great.
And I just wanted to play it and play it and play it until I discovered what he looked like. And then that was from the midday movie on Saturday in Perth, Western Australia, which was always an Elvis movie. And then discovered what he looked like. And then putting the voice with the look, it's like, I mean, is there anything closer to God than that, actually?
Fantastic. That's just superb. I mean, I was a fairly big fan at 7 years old. But man, you take that to another level, I have to say.
I remember Way Down in Moody Blue on the jukeboxes in the pizza shops.
Ah, well, there we go. Okay.
I was doing my paper round.
Yeah. Almost ready to leave home, you were, weren't you?
That's right. I was collecting my
Just
pension.
but to answer your question, my parents were not really. I mean, my dad had one tape, but he wasn't that obsessed with Elvis. He thought they were much better singers than Elvis.
Yeah.
But I kept saying, like for sure, Nat King Cole is technically a genius and a brilliant singer, and he was amazing, and I love his voice. But I don't know. There's something about Elvis. I don't know. Why are there millions of impersonators? Because there's only one Elvis. They don't impersonate anyone else. Just him.
Yeah.
And which actually leads us on nicely to question number 3. Do you like to watch Elvis tribute artists or impersonators? Do you like to watch them?
Question. I do. I respect them all, even if they're not even good or
There's a lot of that.
they do it because they love him, and I get that, and I love that. But do I like to watch? I mean, that's so hard to answer, because how do I sell myself then if I say no? How do I how do I convince people to listen to the way I would tribute Elvis if I said no, if you know what I mean? So
I feel your tribute is very. I mean, a lot of people know my views on ETAs.
It's not good.
It's not good. So I like something a little bit different, which is where you come in, because you're not some fat and 40 bloke who's just squealing up the corner in an ill-fitting suit. You seem to have the quality costumes as they were. You looked the part. You looked amazing. You weren't strictly much. It wasn't strictly that. There's an angle to it, and there's a few I will watch, because there's an angle. When it is just a straightforward, I'm fat and 40, and I'm Johnny in a jumpsuit, then then I don't see the appeal. I don't care if people like it. Go nuts, do it, but I don't get it.
I mean, exactly. And I just think that you can't substitute the real thing for anything, and it's great that they do it, but if I want to be in some sort of a mood, like today I was baking bread, and of course I was listening to Elvis gospel and country, because that goes with bread making.
Of course it does.
And I'm not going to turn on, unless somebody specifically asks me to have a look at a particular guy, because after a while they all just sound the same. It's like, and I just can't. I can't. But at the same time, I have the utmost respect for them, because they do it for the same reason I do,
The weirdest thing I heard the other day was somebody said that they go and see a lot of them, and their answer is, why would I stay at home and listen to a dead Elvis when I can go to the pub and hear a live Elvis? And I just could not get my head around that for days. That's Elvis the product rather than the genius, isn't it? It was weird.
That's incredible. I mean, they're the women that I see run down to get a scarf at a tribute artist concert.
Yeah.
They're the women that don't really mind if whoever sings it, like they're just there to be entertained, I guess, and they appreciate it from that perspective. But I am a little the same as you, Vince. Like, I don't know. I don't need to hear another guy sing Elvis. It's like, and if you sing Suspicious Minds again, I'll poke your eyes out. Sometimes I do feel like that.
That is the way to do it.
Now, I'm just going to interrupt proceedings here on Talking Elvis to let you know that every Wednesday on Cam FM, you can listen to Elvis in Cambridge with myself, Ian Gray, and his self, Vince Wright. We're on at 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. USA East Coast time, and 9 a.m. Alaskan time. You can also get us 24 hours a day via the catch-up service on www.camfm.co.uk. But whatever time it is that you're listening, you can guarantee one thing. It's Elvis time.
Right.
You could ask him in any direction.
So this one, now I like the right. So I do it in the right order. I'm a bit, what's name? Right, off the top of your head now. Doesn't matter whether it's your favourite forever, but now, This moment in time, what's your favourite Elvis song?
I have to say something like "For Old Time's Sake."
Oh, nice.
We haven't had that one. That's pretty cool.
That is a good call, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is that any good for making bread? Or no?
Yeah. Yes. It's great. It's great to make bread too. And like all those type of songs. You asked me to. What else did I listen to today? How the Web Was Woven. Those types of songs. Just love them.
Do you listen to a lot of other artists as well? I mean, besides Elvis, would you go off and when you're sort of reimagining country? Do you like a lot of the newer country artists as well? Are you current with that, or are you Patsy Cline and that's
no,
it?
I follow the new stuff as well. It's not my favorite thing, I have to say, because I'm a bit traditional, but I get it, and I like how you can fuse country with anything basically now.
There is some. I mean, they've done rap and country, and that one just that made me cry. Yeah,
it's very interesting. But for instance, I love the people that inspired Elvis. Like, I love Tony Joe White, and that's why I just recorded one of his songs, because Elvis recorded 4 of his songs, and that's a huge compliment to somebody like that. He was a true, Southern white country singer that Elvis really, really liked. And so those types of guys inspire me. I mean, Chris Christopherson, Willie Nelson, those guys.
Oh, so all the outlaws, it's all the sort of the rebels you like, isn't it? Yes, we like that.
Yes.
The bad boys, that's it. Your truth is out.
Yes, definitely. Love all that stuff. And I get why Elvis, got into that. And I often think, gosh, I hear some songs and I think, why didn't Elvis record that? Or if he did, it would have been totally incredible.
Go on, name one.
Like the song by the Hollies, He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother. Can you imagine if Elvis sang that?
We like that. Oh, that is good.
That's superb, isn't it? That's a different. You know what? That's the sort of question I haven't thought about. That what would Elvis else have recorded? I haven't thought about that.
Yes, and I often think, gosh, I could just hear his voice on that.
And if it was up to the Colonel, it'd be things like Agadoo, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Oh my God! Absolutely.
You're not going to get that out of your head very soon, are you?
No.
Man, this is the sort of thing I have to put up with, It's like there's random thoughts coming into his head.
I say there is no filter from my brain to my mouth. I'm sorry.
So right, and the best thing is that he died young, and he was immortalized in our brains, handsome and gorgeous and everything, and not oversized and old and doing the RSL clubs in southern New South Wales.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because that would have been depressing.
Yeah, there is that, isn't it? I mean, like, we always say, oh, why'd you go too young? But would we have really wanted to see him prancing around on stage at 80 years old? Probably not, no.
We would.
Don't think so.
To be honest, we'd still be queuing up.
We would. But I would hate it if we came out there going, oh my God.
I remember seeing Chuck Berry late on in his career, and it was sad because he wasn't the Chuck Berry I wanted to see, so he'd lost it. And that was sad. I will always think of him like that, not doing the duck walk in 58,
Yes, 100%. That's exactly what I mean. I mean, I couldn't have stood it if we walked out of a club and said, oh, that wasn't the Elvis we remember, That would have been depressing.
That would have been awful.
Yeah.
So in the moment right now, what would you think would be your favourite Elvis movie?
Still King Creole, probably. King Creole.
Hey!
We love that answer.
Yeah, that is the answer, isn't it? Watch this space. We've got a lot to talk about on that, haven't we? In the coming weeks.
Oh,
that's
yes.
great.
Oh yes, one of the recent radio shows featured King Creole, so have a listen to that. That'd be good. Okay,
So
always
great.
good, always good. Now then, Vince, this is the one. I think we know the answer.
Do we know these? Bear in mind, these questions are the same ones we ask everyone. So the last question is, do you ever dress up like Elvis?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And proud to do that. And
How do you do it? I mean, this obviously isn't stuff off the shelf. Have you got a designer that sort of says, I want a hint of that's the way it is, or I want a pink version of this?
I just let's say 50% of the costumes are made by the same tailor as Elvis had make his suits. You know, the same still do it, Bill Ballou and all them.
Wow.
Oh, great.
And the other 50% is sort of my sort of idea to mix, say, for instance, Elvis's 68 jumpsuit, like 68 leathers, but just sort of do it my way and not necessarily out of leather. It could be out of like vinyl, and I can add rhinestones to it. I just take a bit of creative license because, yeah.
You can bedazzle whatever you like, can't you?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be him. So I just figure, I just want it to sort of give the idea that it's a tribute to Elvis, but I don't want to be Elvis.
I think that's the buzzword, isn't it? It is a tribute, not an impersonation, where I think a lot of people are saying they're a tribute, but they are really just an impersonation.
Yeah.
So I think tribute is the right word for you. Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah. Excellent. And
wow.
And very good you're looking at too, I have to say. Still.
Thank you. You're so sweet.
I was just looking at the videos on your Facebook and everything. And
stalking.
Stalking. That's research. And I love that little video. And is it your daughter where she's going, look at my sexy mama and all that? And I go, well, how do the kid? How's the family take this? You know, of what you do.
Oh, they are 100% amazingly supportive now, but not when I started.
Yeah, were you an embarrassment? No, Mom, don't do that.
And definitely still that to my son, who doesn't live at home anymore. He's, he's 24 and he's grown up. But I used to embarrass him, and sometimes I'd be on my way to an interview and I'd have to run into the school to do something, and I'd be dressed up as Elvis, and he'd be like, "Never do that again! Never do that!" But now they're very much my biggest support. And I couldn't do it without them, because they're my roadies and they're my everything.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah. Is it them in the new video, all sitting around the couches?
Ruby's in that, my daughter. She's the one in white top, but the rest are just friends and extras.
Oh, brilliant!
I wanted to talk to you about the latest song. I Got a Thing About You, Jacqueline, because it's an excellent version. Well done. We love it.
We love it.
We've played it on the radio, as you know. We'll be playing it again in the lead up, to this interview going out and talking Elvis. So, what prompted you to go for that song on this occasion? And as a supplementary question, you can answer this or not. It's up to you. Is there anything else in the pipeline?
Okay, so what prompted me was, I'm not done, by any stretch of the imagination. I'm always inspired, and it just depends on what and when and all that. What's inspiring me. Like you said, today's answer for what's my favorite song will be a different one tomorrow. That's how I always feel. But I wanted to do something that was quite sort of take one of his songs that was lesser known and make it contemporary enough that I could sort of make it into the country area, but also still stay mainstream. And that's why I chose that song. But trust me, I was thinking about that for a year. It took me a year to figure out what song, because I didn't want to do something that's too well known.
Yeah.
Because anything that's too well known that's Elvis I got Buckley's chance of getting any radio play.
Yeah.
And because people aren't into, it's not a mainstream thing anymore, Elvis. So I have to always try and think of a way I can get a bit of airplay mainstream. So I was just going through and I love the country. I love country and blues the best, and a bit of gospel. So I was just thinking, which song could I possibly find to do that? And seeing that seeing that Elvis sang 4 of his songs, and he wasn't a hired writer. He wasn't one of his teams of writers. He was a guy that was writing songs for himself at the time. I just thought Poke Salad Annie is one of the all-time greatest, most well-known by Elvis fans songs, but it's not well-known by anybody else, really. Like, people wouldn't know who wrote that song, or they would associate. Anyone who hears it goes, that's an Elvis song. But it's not. It's a Tony Joe White song that Elvis sang. And I just looked deeper into that, and then I found that song. I mean, I've known about I've Got to Sing About You, Baby for a long time, but then I just started thinking, well, hang on. That has everything. That ticks all the boxes. It's got country. It's sort of, contemporary, can be contemporary as well, depending on how you can muck around with the song. And I slowed it down a bit to Elvis's version. I don't know. When
you were being interviewed about this by various outlets and whatnot, did some of them ask you? Did they know it was an Elvis song?
Well, I tried to cover that bit up, not to cover it up, but just not to be forthright with that. I just sort of tried to sell it to them as a remade Tony Joe White song. Then when they start talking, it comes out that Elvis sang it as well. But I've got an interview that I listened to where Tony Joe White is saying to Elvis, it's basically your song because you've put your signature on it,
Yeah.
About, not I've Got to Think About You, but about Poke Salad Annie, that is. And those sort of things, I just, because I'm such a fan, I go into these things and I read between the lines, and I don't know. That's how I get inspiration. Very strange.
You must have been thrilled with it because it got quite a lot of hits, didn't it? You did very well for you.
It did, and it's still going.
Were you surprised by that? Or just thankful?
Yes, very, very thankful. Very relieved, I guess, because it cost me a fortune to do these type of independent releases. And I'm not signed to any record label or whatever. So every time I do it, it costs me, in the thousands to do it.
Yeah.
Because I use live instruments. I don't want a computerized feel or a digital feel. I want it to sound live, and I want it to be live. So it costs a lot, and studio time and all that. So I want to do an album, but it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to sort of keep up with it all. So
you're looking for investors then, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well,
I've got a fiver.
Well, I can't say to what, but to help things along, I sort of took part in a reality singing program here, but hasn't aired yet. Because I thought, well, if I want to finish this album, I think somebody else should pay for it. And I hoped to sort of, get a bit of interest that way. But I got knocked out after the first round, so I didn't get further than that. And it hasn't aired yet, so I don't know if anything will come of that. But in the meantime, I'm still going to record a song that's just slow. It'll be slow. That's
good. I think we need to hear something else from you because I love listening to your comeback album. Back in the day, I mean, it's still one of my favourite things to listen to occasionally. But when I heard that you did this new one, I'm thinking, oh man, I just want more again now because it's. You have a fan. You ever have a fan 10,000 miles away? That's okay.
Two.
Thank you. Well, you know what? I don't know. Because of this lockdown thing, I might just do I might do one to a homemade video and just see how we go.
Yeah.
And everybody else is doing it. Why shouldn't you?
Well,
Yeah.
we'll get on Skype in the background and rattle the triangle and the tambourine or something. Yeah.
Why not? I reckon. Why not?
It's all good. It's all good fun. Listen, it's been an absolute thrill talking to you again, Jacqueline. It's been too long. Let's not leave it so long next time.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to talk to both of you. You're too lovely.
We are big fans, and this is a lot coming from us because of our usual view of these sort of things. But yeah,
amazing.
Great. You're doing it. You're going it. You're flying the flag. You're a squillion miles from Memphis, so that's got to be even harder. Is there much of an Elvis world in Australia?
Not really. And what is here is very cliquey and very. It's based on. I'm sure you've got the same, but ours is on a much smaller scale. It's based on women between the ages of 50 and 80 who govern everything they're big fans of the young men because it makes them feel good and all of that, and so they follow them in busloads and they wear their t-shirts and all that. And I don't really have that because I think the men are a bit scared to do that, that we're so it's a small and cliquey audience, but they're loyal and they're lovely people, and I have my share of the fan base, so it's good, but it's tiny. It's quite tiny.
You touched on this beforehand. You were negotiating to do sort of more sort of cruise line of things. So that is something that you'll have hopefully once we get out of all this mess to do in the future, and that'll be in your area. I presume you won't be doing sort of world cruises or anything like this.
I mean, I would. I mean, certainly I would. Some of the Australian Elvises go and do the American ships and all that stuff. I've never done that, but I would love to do that. And I would do that once the vaccine for this silly thing has been discovered. And yeah, for sure. Why not? I would love it. Yeah, I would do it. I'd go anywhere. Why not?
We've all got a lot of living to do, haven't we?
Oh, very good.
Exactly.
Very good.
That's a great song.
Well, hopefully when all this is over and we see you lined up on a ferry somewhere, or a cruise ship, somewhere, we'll all be along, and that's gonna be fantastic. So good luck for that.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Vince. So great
Thanks,
to talk.
so good to speak to you.
It's been a great pleasure, Jacqueline, and like I said, let's do it again real soon. And love to all you and your family, and keep singing the song, because it keeps us entertained. It's really great fun to see you performing again.
Oh,
definitely. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
This is Henrik Knudsen from the Memphis Mansion in Randers, Denmark, and you are listening to the Talking Elvis podcast.
A little more conversation with talkingelvis.co.uk.
All the way from Sydney, Australia, Jacqueline Feilich. Wasn't she lovely?
She is great, isn't she? That could have gone on forever. I mean, we didn't edit that interview. It just sort of went. It was great. Well, it was, sometimes we go off on one and that, but she was really interesting and a proper fan. I think that's what you can tell.
That's what she is. She's a fan of Elvis, and she's not going to curl her lip and change her voice and try and be thank you very much and all this type of thing that we've seen so often from people who wear a suit and whatnot. But she's gone professional. She wears suits that were designed by Bill Bellew, for goodness sake.
Yeah, that's great.
And which is showing a bit of commitment. She's showing commitment by going into a recording studio and using her own money to record songs, and just a genuinely nice person, and she does it her way, and you know what? It's different, and I find it refreshing.
I think it is
that it's different.
It's something different. It's great, and it is it is something that I know we've had the argument in the past of remixes and ETAs and whatever, and this is different, which is what we like. Something that makes you sit up and notice, like you say, Fred down the Red Lion doing I do a bit myself, you know.
Yeah, we don't want to see the same old, do we?
No. So very good. Well,
this is very
Jacqueline.
good, and well done, Jacqueline. And I've got a thing about you, baby. You can get on all sort of iTunes and Spotify's and wherever you get music downloads and whatnot. Have a listen to that. It's a very, very good version. I got a thing about you, baby, Jacqueline Feilich. There you go.
Hi guys, what's on the show next week?
Oh, that was she. That was the lovely
Grace.
Graceland.
Yeah.
Yes, Grace. Thank you very much. Very good question. What have we got on the show next week? Well, we like our top fives, don't we?
Yeah, we're getting into that now.
We're getting into this. It's a bit. I think it's our thing. Without realizing it, it's become our thing.
Yeah.
So we were talking, and we said, "Yeah, what's your favourite film?" Everybody goes there, and unfairly, the first four and the last two always take the biscuit, don't they?
It's King Creole. That's the way it is. JLS Rock.
Yeah.
The same.
Yeah. So we're going to go for what's your favourite 60s?
Yes.
So,
we are going to go from 60 to 69.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Now I've just completed my list scientifically, so I will be ready to go for that for next week.
Yeah. Just as repost it, I have compiled my list unscientifically.
Right. And are you happy that next week's show I'm going to tell you why you're wrong?
Absolutely, yes. And I will take it on the chin as usual. And you never know. Be prepared for a surprise or two.
Oh, challenge accepted.
Anyway, don't forget you can email us on ian@talkingelvis.co.uk or vince@talkingelvis.co.uk, and we'll be back next week. Thank you very much to Jacqueline.
Thanks you, Jacqueline, all the way from down under. Yes, I think we managed to do a whole show without doing my terrible Australian accent.
Well done, you. Thanks, everybody. See you soon. Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Find us at www.talkingelvis.co.uk or Facebook or YouTube or Spotify. In fact, any place you get your podcasts.